Hello and welcome to another Common Sense Linux video. This one's about running the live USB you just made. Well, you're almost there. You've created your live USB. The next step is to put the USB in a computer and fire it up. If you've been living right or have booted from a USB on this computer before, it might well boot from the USB. But there's probably going to be a problem. The computer won't boot from the USB stick. If it does by some happy coincidence, just carry on your merry way. If it doesn't, the first step is finding out what method is used for accessing a boot menu on your computer. All computers have firmware for booting up. It used to be called BIOS, and sometimes still is, but more modern computers use something called UEFI. UEFI is supposed to be more secure. It certainly can be a pain for what we want to do here. Every computer manufacturer should have a way of bringing up a boot menu. The problem is finding out what that method is. The best way to find out your computer's method is to do an internet search for your manufacturer and model along with the phrase boot menu key. For example, I have an old Dell Latitude E6330. I'll open up a search engine, put in Dell Latitude 6330 boot menu key, and according to the first thing at the top of this search engine, F12 is the key. Now, generally, I kind of like to scour the results and look for a copy of the manual that came with the computer. And I look down through here and I don't see anything that says anything about a manual. So I'll go back up to the top and select one of the earlier results. And Nerdy Tech looks pretty good, so I'll look at it and see what it has to say. Oh, looky there. There's an example of what the boot screen menu looks like on this computer. And it tells me all kinds of information about why I might need it, what models are supported, and what you can do from the boot menu. And looky there. It tells me that F12 is the boot menu key. It tells me when to press it, and it warns me that if I press the wrong key, like F2 or escape, I might end up in the BIOS settings instead of the boot menu. So I'll make note of that. And I'll also make note of what the BIOS access key is. Might need that later on. So, searching for the boot menu key not only gave me that, but it also gave me the BIOS settings key. So that's good information to have. We do want the boot menu key right now, but we may need the BIOS settings key later on, so I'll make note of it as well. If your search for the boot menu key by manufacturer and model comes up dry, you can try the table that's at this website that's listed in the address bar on the screen. This gives a listing of various computer manufacturers. You see it lists all of these different manufacturers all the way down. And in the table is the boot menu key, and the BIOS key. Maybe this will get you to the point where you can find those two keys. After finding the correct key for the boot menu, shut down the computer. Be sure the USB is plugged in. Turn the computer on, and after the screen comes up with the logo of your computer manufacturer, hold down the key for the boot menu, or, as some people recommend, push the key repeatedly while the machine is booting. This is often referred to as spamming the key. You should get a display that lists your USB device. Highlight it and press enter. You should start booting into the live install on the USB. This is a video of an Asus laptop. When the escape key is held during the Asus logo, it brings up a boot menu. Windows is listed first. The USB drive is a generic storage, and enter setup third. I'll select the generic storage device option. This is a quality production. The video was recorded at Edison's Black Maria studio on an inclined plane using a 0.5 megapixel camera with the screen dust factor set to 8. It was directed by the Lumiere brothers. Nothing is too good for my viewers and subscribers. As you see, the computer is booting into the Q4OS Live USB. This is exactly what it would look like on your computer. Don't pay attention to all that stuff that's running across your screen. It's just the computer booting. Windows hides it with a nice little picture. And as you can see, we're booting into Q4OS running the Trinity desktop. And this is what it will look like when it comes up. It'll even play you some nice little music if you have your speakers turned on. By the way, if you have chosen to try the Q4OS Trinity Live and you've made a USB for it, I have another video showing some things you need to know about running it for the first time. That video will be linked in the description below. If everything went well, you should eventually end up at a desktop running like the previous video. If so, you can skip the next section. Not everyone will have to do it. If everything does not go well, you cannot get the USB to boot, first try the process again just in case your timing was off. If a second attempt fails, you may have to make the next adjustment. Remember, making changes to your system could lead to loss of data or, even worse, an unbootable computer. Use caution and write down what changes you make and where you change them. So if you have to go back and adjust what you've done, you'll know what it is that you have done. Anything you do from here forward is at your own risk. Sometimes a feature called Fast Boot will prevent you from being able to access a boot menu. If you're lucky enough to have some older equipment, say manufactured before 2015 or so, you probably won't have to worry with this. Fast Boot is designed either to speed up the booting process or to give you trouble when you're trying to boot some other medium. I haven't decided which it is yet. It is, to me, just another example of computer manufacturers catering to the Windows ecosystem and making it more difficult for you to own your computer. Your opinion may be different. You may have to disable Fast Boot to be able to get to the boot menu. On the Asus laptop, I could not get the machine to boot a USB until I disabled Fast Boot. One possible way to disable Fast Boot or Fast Startup is by using the instructions at this site. I was unable to do so with my version of Windows 10, but you should be able to. Just follow the instructions as shown on this page. After going through this process, you should be able to shut down the computer, insert the USB, start it up, and hold down the boot menu key or spam it after the boot logo first appears. And then it should proceed to the menu where you can select the USB and boot from it. If this doesn't work for you, you'll have to go into the computer's system settings to disable fastboot. Remember, I said the boot menu key on my Dell is F12 and that the system setting key is F2. Now is when you put the system settings key you found earlier for your computer into play. Eject the USB and shut the computer down. You may want to go through the process of re-enabling fastboot, fast start on the Win 10 computer as instructed on the website, since the page claims that Hibernate won't work without the fastboot, fast startup enabled. To disable fastboot through system settings, reboot your computer and hold down or spam whatever key gets you into the system settings. Find where fastboot is located on your system and disable it. I cannot tell you where the entry will be on your computer. It could be in any number of places. Try looking under the boot options as shown in this picture, or if you have to, search the internet once again with your model and make to see if you can find where it's located through a web search. Do not change anything other than fastboot. After you disable fastboot, save and exit. Usually that is F10, or just look for an entry that says save and reboot in order to save your system settings. After the change, the computer will start to reboot. If you're fast enough, you may be able to plug the USB in and hold down or spam the boot menu key and get a chance to boot into the USB. Otherwise, just let the machine boot into Windows, shut it down from there, insert the USB, and restart your machine, holding down or spamming the boot menu key after the boot logo appears. You should be able then to boot from the USB. I've never had any problems disabling fastboot. The only thing I've noticed is that the computer boots somewhat more slowly. Sometimes you'll run across people who recommend disabling something called Secure Boot, which is yet another feature of UEFI. But disabling it might cause your Windows install to fail to boot, so don't mess with that, even if you find it. The USB you created with Rufus should be able to boot with either BIOS, also known as Legacy, or UEFI without any problems. So Secure Boot should not be an issue in the first place. Once again, I do not recommend disabling Secure Boot. Leave Secure Boot alone. One more thing to note. Do not click on anything that says install until you are certain that this is what you want to do. If you do click on something that says install, this will begin the process of overwriting what's on your hard drive, your SSD, your NVMe, or whatever, and replacing your installation of Windows and wiping any files you have on that drive along with Windows. You should have noticed that the live boot menu has an option for installing instead of using the live version, and or there is an install option on the desktop of the booted live USB. You should never click on install unless that is exactly what you want to do. I'll cover installation and the things that you should do prior to installation in another video. Let me know in the comments if I missed something or could have explained something better. Next up will be a video about the steps you should take when installing a Linux distro. Thanks for watching, and most importantly, have fun.